This is a sad and difficult morning for all of us. There is a heavy sense of loss among us. One of the giants of this congregation, Cliff Durant, died on Friday night. And we cannot start our service without acknowledging the loss that we're all experiencing. Our worship team for today pondered if we should change the service, but we don't believe that that's what Cliff would have wanted. And as I looked at the incredibly upbeat hymn we have scheduled to open the service, I for a moment thought, well, perhaps we should change that. But then words from the Roman philosopher Seneca came to mind. Seneca once wrote, "In the presence of death, we must continue to sing the songs of life." And as I thought further about this particular hymn, I remember watching Cliff right there, singing it with gusto not very long ago, even with his mask off when we weren't supposed to be doing that. I know that this was a hymn that he in fact loved. So no, we're not going to change our gathering song to a dirge. In the presence of death, we are going to continue to sing the songs of life. And this is certainly a song of life. Cliff would want us to do that. So let's sing for Cliff and for all our community, even at this time when we're hurting. Our gathering song is Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. It's 361 in the hymnal, but the words are printed in the insert on your order of service, and also on the insert are the Spanish words that are not in the hymnal. We'll sing 2 verses in Spanish. The words will also be up on the screen as well. So rise in body or spirit and join Malcolm and Nancy and me in singing, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. Seated and give your attention to our service leader for today, Phyllis Culp.
I'm so impressed. Give our attention to our service leader for today. Whoa. Okay, bienvenidos. Whether you are joining us in person or on Zoom, please feel welcomed to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of San Miguel de Allende. 7 days a week, Unitarian Universalists live our faith by doing, whether in community with others or as individuals. We know that active, tangible expressions of love, caring, and peace are what make a difference. Embracing peace, love, and understanding that goes beyond individual belief systems and culture, we are creators and receivers of positive change in people and in the world. We are happy to be here with you today, and we are happy to be here in San Miguel in a beautiful and truly multicultural community. I'd like to make a special announcement first, and then I'll do the rest of the announcements. The special one is that on Thursday at 1 p.m., we will meet with Nancy Palmer Jones, at Tom's house to discuss Nancy Palmer Jones's Mistakes and Miracles. You don't have to have read the book, but if you have read a book, it'll be even that much more helpful and better for you. So we hope to have a lot of you come on Thursday to discuss with Nancy mistakes and miracles. And we all know that we have mistakes and miracles right here in this room. So it'll be especially good for all of us. Okay, and here are the other announcements. There is a last-minute one that there will be a film at 5 o'clock this Sunday. This Sunday? Okay, there will be a one-woman show today. Thank you for being my helper. There will be a one-woman show at 5 o'clock at Casa de la Noche, and it'll be in the White Lantern room, which is a nice big room, so there'll be a lot of great things to see this one-woman show. And this is a story about Irene Gut Updike. And Janet Rogers is going to do the presentation, and she will portray in poetry and prose this Holocaust hero and Russian resistor. And the little update, or the little thing that says about what it is, a riveting true story of Irina Gut, a young Catholic Polish girl who risks her life to save countless Jewish lives from extermination by the Nazi during World War II. As the war ends, 6 young Jewish professionals whose lives she has saved then save her. Set in Poland, Ukraine, and Germany, it is a story of love, courage, and hope. So you're all welcome to be there at 5 o'clock tonight at Casa de la Noche, which is on Organos 19. Admission 300 pesos. Okay, so much for the special ones. Now, the other special ones. Okay, after this service, those on Zoom are invited to stay connected and visit with others in the main room for discussion. Those who are with us at the Aldea can join us for coffee and cookies downstairs. But not today. Okay, we're gonna, you know that this comes from being a creature of habit, right? I'm sorry. Today we'll have, after the service, we'll have a brief 20-minute intermission, you might call it, for bathroom breaks, and I almost used the word that I used with my kids when they were little potty breaks, or to grab a quick snack if you brought your lunch or whatever. So there'll be about 20 minutes, and then we'll start part 1 of our annual meeting right here in this room and right there on Zoom. If you're on Zoom, you'll need to use the second number that you got for the Zoom call. You would get off the first Zoom call and then get on to another Zoom call, which is also a frequent occurrence. Okay, this part I think is appropriate for today. If we have any visitors here today, would you please stand so that we can see who you are and personally greet you after the service? Ah, visitors, yay. I have been fortunate enough to meet a few of those people before, and I think it would be worth your time to seek them out. They're neat. Please know that our flowers are brought by volunteers, and right now we need volunteers. Please consider offering to bring flowers once a month or so. Contact Chris Chase if you would enjoy doing this, and know that they are given to someone chosen by the care team after this service. And I think Chris brought these today. Thank you, Chris. Also, our cookie bakers are burning out. And they're not burning the cookies, they're just burning themselves out. And we need others to help with treats for coffee hour. Store-bought is fine, so please bring cookies, fruits, or pretzels to share with others. And that's when we will have that other announcement about downstairs. Okay. We do record our Sunday in-person services. Just go to youtube.com and type in UUFSMA to access the great wealth of recordings we've collected there. It's really a wonderful thing to do when you're feeling just a little blah, to go and be all rejuvenated by those. I go there frequently, not that I frequently feel blah, but I go there myself a lot. And it's just wonderful to see the things that you've missed or that you'd like to see again. Please check the order of service or our website, uufsma.org, to see the various events sponsored by the fellowship and information on how to become a member. Finally, today is the first of our 2 annual meetings, to begin after about a 20-minute break for folks to have their lunch they've brought with them here. Because of my first mistake, I had to tell you that twice, sorry. Those on Zoom will need to leave their Zoom meeting and sign back into a different number. Okay.
It's a joy for me, and I know it will be a joy for you, to have the Reverend Nancy Palmer-Jones here with us as our guest minister today. Now, this is not the first service Nancy and I, and even Malcolm, have led together. We did a service together in the chapel at Harvard Divinity School, but I hate to say that was 25 years ago, when Nancy and I were both students there. Nancy's had a wonderful career in our tradition. After 17 years as the senior minister of the First Unitarian Church of San Jose, she jumped from parish ministry into full-time community organizing as the director of faith leader formation with the Santa Clara County PACT, which stands for People Acting in Community Together. She is co-author of the book, this book right, where did it go? There it is. Co-author of this book, Mistakes and Miracles, Congregations on the Road to Multiculturalism. This book is the UUA group read for this year, the whole conglomeration, and it's something we as a congregation are going to be engaging in various ways. She's also co-editor of another wonderful book, co-edited with the late Reverend Marjorie Bowens-Wheatley, called Soul Work, Anti-Racist Theologies and Dialogue. From her vocation as a professional actor and freelance book editor, through her life as a minister, author, and community organizer, the unifying thread lies in her experience with the power of story. I know you're going to hear a story today. It's one that I believe is very relevant to our congregation. And now, let us come into our sacred time together. For the gift of this day and the opportunities it presents to us individually and as a community.
Por el regalo de este día y las oportunidades que nos ofrece individualmente y como comunidad.
For the support of our beloved community, ever growing and changing, yet always there for us.
Por el apoyo de nuestra querida comunidad, siempre creciendo y cambiando, pero siempre presente para nosotros.
For our liberal faith tradition, which reminds us of our calling to open our arms and our hearts even wider.
Por nuestra tradición de fe liberal, que nos recuerda nuestro llamado a abrir nuestros brazos y corazones aún más.
We give thanks.
Damos gracias.
And for all these, and even for the times we have made mistakes, though with the best of intent, together we light a fire of commitment. Commitment to listen more attentively, to speak more carefully, and to respect more deeply every individual for who they are and what they believe.
Por todo esto, y hasta por las veces que nos hemos equivocado, aún con las mejores intenciones, juntos encendemos un fuego de compromiso. El compromiso de escuchar más atentamente, de hablar con más cuidado y de respetar más profundamente a cada individuo por lo que es y por lo que cree.
And now we'll do our covenant together. I will lead in English, and Miguel Angel, or Mike as he likes to be called, will help us with the Spanish. Okay. We respect the interdependent web of life and work for a just and peaceful world. We encourage the search for truth and meaning, strive for compassion in our relationships, and seek values that will benefit our lives and the lives of others. This is our covenant.
Respetamos todos los estilos de vida dentro de su red interdependiente y trabajamos por un mundo justo y pacífico. Alentamos la búsqueda de la verdad y la comprensión total. Nos esforzamos por mantener compasión en nuestras relaciones y buscamos valores que beneficien nuestras vidas y las vidas de los demás. Este es nuestro convenio.
We now enter into a very sacred time in our service, a time when we share significant joys, sorrows, and concerns. We together, in this time, embrace the circle of life, the many cycles of life, acknowledging the significant milestones in the lives of members and friends and their families. We rejoice in good times and accomplishments, and we offer support and sympathy in difficult times. Each joy, sorrow, or concern that we share, we light a candle, acknowledging that that person or that thought or that prayer is held in all of our hearts this morning. If you have a joy, sorrow, or concern you'd like to have shared in an upcoming service, please email it to me. If you are on Zoom, you may type it into the chat now. We begin with the joy. I believe that today is Kim Van Capel's birthday, and also his wife Phyllis Vince's birthday is next week, so we send birthday wishes to them. We light our next candle for Judy Rosenthal. Our thoughts and prayers are with her as she heads to Mexico City for major surgery this coming week. And we light a candle for Stan Allen, who'll be flying this week to Atlanta, Georgia, also for some surgery. We also have many concerns that go beyond our immediate community. This month, we're marking the third-year anniversary of the COVID pandemic. We light this candle to remember the nearly 7 million people who died from this virus. we also pause to be grateful for the vaccines, the good advice, our trusted COVID team, and the healthcare professionals who worked tirelessly and continue to work tirelessly to help protect us and reduce the seriousness of this disease. We again light our blue and yellow candle for all those who've lost their lives or their loved ones, who've been displaced, whose homes have been destroyed, or who in so many other ways has suffered as a consequence of the unjust and unprovoked war in Ukraine. Now we come back to our own community to remember those who've died. We light this candle for Cliff Durant, who passed away on Friday. We send our deepest sympathies to his wife and best friend, Julie. Those who know Cliff have so many memories. Cliff was a wonderful person who was an inspiration to lots of people. He served our fellowship in so many ways and believed in and worked tirelessly for justice and equality. I invite you who knew him to take a moment and try to bring to mind something about Cliff you admired, something perhaps you shared with him, something you loved about him. Let's pause for a moment to do that. Cliff will live on in our hearts in so many ways. As many of you know, Cliff led many wonderful services for our fellowship. And as Paula and I remembered, he always wanted the same hymn to be sung. We'll build a land. And there's good reason for it. It reflects Cliff's desire for the world. It was what he worked for, what he believed. So I invite you now as a tribute to Cliff and as a renewed commitment to the causes in which he believed so deeply, to join Malcolm and Nancy and I in singing hymn number 121 in the gray hymnal. The words will also be on the screen. We'll build a land. You may rise in body and spirit if you wish.
The broken, we'll build a land where the captives go free, where the oil of gladness dissolves the mourning. Oh, we'll build a promised land that can be. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll like down, like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll build a land where we bring the good tidings to all the afflicted and all those who mourn, and we'll give them then create peace, where justice shall roll on down like waters, and peace like an ever-growing stream. Come, build a land with angels of praises, resound from spirits once faint and once weak. Will like oaks of righteousness stand the people? Oh, come, build the land, my people, we sing. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing
Please be seated and take a moment. Earlier this month, we lost another longtime member of our fellowship, Richard Kerner. Some of you didn't know Richard and Marianne. Richard began failing many years ago, and they moved to Florida where he could get better care. But Richard and Marianne were very much part of this fellowship's life and the life of San Miguel, a place that they both loved so much. Some of you do remember them at services and at parties with Marianne playing the piano and Richard singing. In their younger days, they had quite an act. In my correspondence with Marianne this week, she wrote, "We had such happy times in San Miguel. I'm sure he left behind many stories and many smiles. And many of those smiles came when people heard him sing this wonderful song that he wrote."
I'm on my way to San Miguel Allende, in the heart of sunny Mexico. Let me tell you what she's like, so lo comprende. She's the pueblo más bonito that I know. San Miguel, San Miguel, how I long to see that town I love so well, where it never gets too hot and it never gets too cold. It's just a special spot where you never do grow old. San Miguel, San Miguel, you're the only place on earth that I care to dwell, where the children always sing and the poets always rhyme and the church bells always ring, though they seldom tell the time. There's a cozy little space called El Jardín, where everyone goes to see and to be seen. In the evening, mariachi bands serenade lovers holding hands, while glittering farolas light the scene. San Miguel, San Miguel, I am drawing closer smell the jasmine bloom. From the midnight dawn on high, I can almost see my room. And all at once you start to weave your magic spell. San Miguel.
Thank you, Richard and Marianne, and our thoughts and prayers go out to Marianne, who may be with us. We have so many on Zoom, I can't tell if she is or not. And our final candle is for all those joys, sorrows, and concerns that were typed into chat this morning or that are held in our hearts but remain unexpressed.
Right now, in this moment, can you feel it? There is a sweet, sweet spirit in this place. It rings out in our singing for these beloveds, Cliff and Richard and all who are facing challenges. It shines in our empathy for all who are grieving. It whispers with steadfast assurance to those of us who carry yet unknown joys and sorrows. We are here for each other. Here for each other so that we can also be present for folks beyond the circle of our knowing. We are here for each other. In this moment of silence, may we hold with tenderness whatever joys and sorrows rise in our own hearts and minds, and may we feel the interconnectedness of all life and offer all beings this tenderness too. Into the silence, into the silence. Amen. Our next hymn comes from our Spanish hymnal, Las Voces del Camino. And from what I have learned about Cliff this weekend, I believe he would have loved it and may even have known it. It holds a very special place in my heart. Danos un Corazón is written by the Spanish hymn composer Juan Antonio Espinosa in honor of the people he comes to know while he lives in Colombia and Peru in the 1960s. People who are struggling to find work and bread and keep a roof over their heads, yet they still care for and fight for each other out of an all-inclusive love and a thirst for liberation for everyone. In the days when I served the First Unitarian Church of San Jose, this song is the anthem for our Spanish-speaking ministries. Now, this song may be new to many of you, and it goes pretty fast. So Malcolm and I will sing the verses in Spanish, and at the same time, we will put the English translation for those verses on the screen. You have some of those verses in your order of service. You have the first two verses, but there's also a third you'll see on the screen. And then we want you to sing along with the chorus. So let's put those words on the screen now. Diego, please. There they are. Danos un corazón grande para amar, danos un corazón fuerte para luchar. In English, I translate the chorus as saying, give us a great heart for loving, give us a strong heart for the struggle. So let's learn this together. Paula will play the tune of the chorus once through, and then Malcolm and I will sing it, and then we'll go through it a third time with you joining in, and from there, Malcolm and I will move right into the verses. Isn't it? Because you all love so much to sing. You are awesome, awesome. We can be a new people, the song says. A new people, free to love without borders, creating a world without chains where no matter what our differences, we can see each other's identity, see each other's beauty, share what we have, and build real relationships with care, con cuidado. What a magnificent vision of beloved community. Now just give us a great big heart for loving and give us a strong heart for the struggle and we are good to go. Yeah. Right about now, I and so many people I know who have been on the journey toward building multicultural, multi-generational, warm and welcoming, anti-racist, anti-oppressive, equitable, and inclusive beloved community are asking this question. Are we there yet? Ya llegamos. We've been talking about this forever. some Unitarian Universalists grumble ominously. Why haven't we made it to the beloved community yet? To which the Spanish poet Antonio Machado replies gently with this invitation to another way of viewing not just this project, but this whole project called life. Caminante, no hay camino, se hace camino al andar. Traveler, there is no road. The road is made as we go. Dear ones, I arrive here this week with a lot of excitement and love and humility and encouragement for the road toward building a loving, inclusive community that you are already on, for the choices you have already made, and for the life-giving experiences that lie before you, both the joys and the challenges, if you choose to continue this journey towards the beloved community, towards true multicultural beloved community. As I share my story with you, my deepest hope is that every single one of you, no matter what our differences, our countries of origin, our ethnicities, our identities, will hear something that resonates with you and this wonderful community that you are creating. So, long before the First Unitarian Church of San Jose calls me to be their senior minister in 2005, the congregation has been on the road to multiculturalism for decades. They have been engaged in the wider community, protesting the internment of the Japanese during World War II, refusing to sign the loyalty oath in the McCarthy era, and then in the 1980s, they respond to the Central American refugee crisis, which is so very present in San Jose, by facing the question, will First Unitarian become a sanctuary church or not? Now, at that time, the people of First Unitarian are carrying the wounds of past conflicts that have torn the community apart. It makes them more than a little conflict averse. So it's scary to take up an issue that could, in more ways than one, put the congregation at risk. But they have a strong and courageous new senior minister, the Reverend Lindy Ramsden, who happens in the mid-'80s to be the first out lesbian to serve in any major denomination in California. Her presence has already grown the congregation, and now with her steady guidance, they go through a process, holding house parties for small group conversations about whether to become a sanctuary church. They build relationships in those conversations across their differences, their different feelings, their fears, their hopes, their faith, which calls them to show up. On the day of the vote, both supporters and opponents are in the room. And when the vote to become a sanctuary church passes almost unanimously, there's no outcry. Unlike in the past, nobody leaves the room in a huff. Nobody quits the congregation. This moment marks a culture shift for First Unitarian. Congregants discover that they can disagree about something really important and still stay together, supporting each other and the community. This experience now weaves its way into First Unitarian's DNA. A few years later, Edgar Cruz, the person who receives sanctuary from the congregation, asks Reverend Lindy a question. ¿Por qué no tenemos servicios en español? Como esa iglesia episcopal al otro lado del parque. Why don't we have services in Spanish, like that Episcopal church on the other side of the park? We have a wonderful message for Latino, Latina people. And that's how it begins. a vision that will become the Spanish-speaking ministries for just about 20 years. A group of Latinx Spanish speakers, along with a few bilingual congregants and Reverend Lindy, who is still just learning Spanish, start meeting in the rudimentary church basement, imagining what it would be like to create multilingual Spanish-English worship services, or even worship just in Spanish. This group has big hearts for loving, and no idea just how much work it will be. Still, their energy and dedication keep the group moving forward, and despite every obstacle that comes their way, they reach a point where they begin to introduce these elements into the service, as you have long ago. Lindy and other leaders, meanwhile, strive to engage all of the congregants in the conversations about this movement to create the Spanish-speaking ministries, but no matter how hard they try and all the methods of communication that they use, they just can't reach everyone. Perhaps some of you leaders can resonate with that. Still, some English speakers in the congregation catch the spirit of this great adventure. They sense in their bones how true this new project is to the core of Unitarian Universalism. They're proud of how innovative this ministry is, and they love the joy that they witness in the planning team. Others, though, are doubtful, resentful, even angry, as they begin to experience the discomfort that comes with these necessary changes. In fact, the first Sunday that Lindy invites everyone to say the affirmation in English and then in Spanish, one older, lifelong Unitarian storms out of the sanctuary. People can hear him shouting from the narthex that he doesn't have to prove how good a Unitarian he is by going through this. Still, the congregation persists. Even through a major 6-alarm fire and multiple experiments with how to bridge the language barrier, eventually, First Unitarian hires a Latina assistant minister, La Reverenda Lilia Cuervo, who leads the Spanish language service at 9:30, finishing just in time for the English service at 11. The congregation has a thriving small group ministry that has taught people how to listen deeply, how to let go of judgment and try on new perspectives. Congregants and leaders are always worried about money. They have been worried about money since 1865, the founding of the congregation. And except for a few English speakers who go to the 9:30 service where they can listen to the simultaneous translation and still participate in the ritual dance of abrazos, mostly the English speakers and the Spanish speakers don't mingle all that much. So, when I arrive as senior minister in 2005, the Spanish-speaking ministries has been running for over 15 years. I fall in love with the project and with its people immediately, as I do with the whole congregation. Heck, this is a congregation that has the word fun in the first line of its long mission statement. They have their hands in 1,000 different pies, acting in the community for good, and they throw great potlucks. Visitors always comment on how warm and welcoming the congregation is, and they are almost always talking about the English language service because that's the service that gets the most visitors. The warmth of the 9:30 service is palpable too. We've got simultaneous translation into English for that service. Some people come faithfully, but why isn't there more mingling? Is it just the language barrier? This is the question I ask myself as I arrive. Why are we not really one congregation in two languages, the way we like to say we are? Well, First Unitarian has called me to be their minister because they know that building this kind of community, multicultural, anti-racist, inclusive, beloved community, lies at the very heart of my call to ministry and and really of my life. And they know that despite my low intermediate level Spanish and my lack of familiarity with immigrant experiences, I will throw myself into the culture, learn and grow alongside them. But in calling me, they have had to let go one of their 3 full-time ministers. They part amicably with Reverend Lilia. Still, losing the native Colombian Spanish-speaking minister has a huge impact on Spanish-speaking ministries. And that's one of the questions I want to bring to you. How do we hold with love, compassion, humility, and clear-sightedness the both-andness of the decisions we make? How do we pay attention to who has to bear the brunt of our decisions and to whether we're stuck in strictly binary either-or thinking, which can shut down our creativity? How do we embrace the fact that none of our decisions, this just in, none of our decisions will ever be perfect? They will never satisfy every one of us. And honestly, my darlings, perfection, defined by whose standards, by the way, total perfection and satisfaction or comfort aren't really what our faith is about, is it? Our Unitarian Universalist faith demands that we grow and change if we're really living our faith. If we're really living our faith, we're not going to be comfortable all the time. 5 years into my ministry in San Jose, we leaders come to the heartbreaking decision that we have to sunset the Spanish-speaking ministries. We've been pouring money into the staff in the program, but we're not moving closer to that one congregation, that one complex, messy, persistent, kind, non-judgmental, adaptable, anti-racist congregation that uses more than one language and embraces more than one cultural way of being. And that may be because we have not really looked at the dominating culture that has all of us, all of First Unitarian, all of San Jose, all of the United States. I would say there's a culture like this everywhere we go in its grip. No matter what our ethnicity, our race, our gender, our age, or other identities. Too many of us have thought we could just focus on what we have in common and that we could just get along. But we haven't looked that closely at ourselves. So, as the Spanish-speaking ministries draws to a close, and through all the rest of my years as their minister, a whole bunch of First Unitarians, a critical mass, a powerful group of champions, mostly they are white folks and also congregants of color, along with every other diversity we have, dive deeper into understanding white supremacy culture and how it infects us all. So, at First Unitarian, we start doing anti-racism and anti-oppression work, courses and readings, and we go to movies, and we look at art, and we have conversations with our neighbors. And these experiences, I promise you, change our relationships with each other and with the folks in our wider community as we move alongside people in the struggle, in la lucha, for more justice, more equity, more fullness of life. Now we have the great heart for loving, and we've also grown a stronger heart for the struggle. So what happens next? Well, you'll have to read chapter 7 in Mistakes and Miracles. You didn't think I would make it all the way through the service without putting at least one plug for the book, did you? But in truth, beloveds, here's the story. There's not an ending to this tale, because this journey is lifelong. Building a multicultural, beloved community is a way of being. The rewards lie in the relationships, and in the abundance of life, the joy, the soul we all get to experience. The point of the story is not we did it, but rather the transformation that continues to take place of individuals and of community. Some of you know about breaking through a bubble of isolation and even a bubble of familiarity by moving to another country. And others of you know about breaking through that bubble by walking in the doors of a different kind of church. But when we do this work, actually, let me pause and say, yes, there is conflict when we experience that discomfort. We're stretching ourselves to grow bigger and stronger hearts. Yet when we do this work, there's also more understanding of how to express our emotions and experiences in loving and respectful ways, how to listen deeply to others, how to change our own minds and hearts. In short, how to live with broken open-heartedness and thus with more love to share. Give us a great big heart for loving. Give us a strong heart for the struggle. And give us the fire of commitment to keep us learning and growing together.
And when the fire of our commitment sets our minds and souls ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. Yes, yeah. We're going to sing that hymn in a little while.
That's a hard act to follow. When I make a mistake, you think it's funny. Okay. Okay, so here's the offering introduction. As I go through my days, I see so many of you and so many others living lives of giving and receiving. Many of you are in the extended community, teaching, mentoring, and tutoring students of all ages, and learning a great deal from them in return. Some work in packaging and delivering food. Some work with women in the campo, developing and promoting artisan products, building homes, taking people to doctors and hospitals. Many of you happily promote, put on, and attend fundraisers or regularly donate to many NGOs, personally and collectively through the church. Some provide services to the fellowship and many other organizations promoting health, education, sustainability, and stewardship of the earth and all its creatures. Most would agree this is very fulfilling, and we receive a great deal more from our participation than we give. I was reminded with the candle for Judy Rosenthal this morning, ever since I've known her, which has been many, many years, she has been working at the Biblioteca every week and providing great service there in our community. And then Stan Allen, another person who gives tirelessly to Abba House and to others, and just his joyfulness and his sincerity have given so much to me just being around him. He's a great guy. Many of you support your employees' families in many ways and expand the resources they have to call in times of need. And many of us receive so much more in return from these same families, attending their events and learning more about the great place we visit and live in. And how many of you have had fun with one of your employees when you try to speak Spanish, they don't have a clue what you're saying, and you go through this this charade and pantomime to get to come to an understanding? That, I don't know about you, but to me that is really cool, and that really makes my day and makes me feel their generosity, they could just say, oh my gosh, another gringo, why doesn't she learn her Spanish? But they don't do that. My husband and I tell our friends we are in assisted living because of how our Mexican friends invite us into their families, how they brought us casseroles and soups actually to check on us during the pandemic, and how they take extra care of our homes and are so very gracious to our families when they visit. So our offering today is just one more small way in which we can be generous and maintain a place such as this fellowship, which is loving and generous in many, many, many ways. Your gifts are always very gratefully received. And now that I'm looking at Gary in the back with his basket and thinking that he's only got 2 more collections, I hope we can fill up the basket. And thank you for giving today.
And now we will sing of the fire of that commitment. The words will appear on the screen. They're also on this insert. I invite you to rise and body our spirit and join in song. Malcolm. The light of days remembered burns are bright and bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith and free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us
find fulfillment, and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice, built by all courageous joys. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us unaware, when we live with deep assurance of the faith that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment, and our future can begin.
Please be seated. Thank you, Nancy. It's wonderful to be with you here, with you again. Thank you all for being here or for being with us on Zoom. We hope you'll join us again next week when Reverend Nancy Palmer-Jones will again be our preacher. I remind you again that if you have not bought, where is it? This book, I encourage you to do so and to participate in the group read starting soon. And remember, Thursday at 1, if you would like to meet with Nancy to discuss this book, you're more than welcome to come, even if you haven't yet read it. I remind those of you who are members of this fellowship that we will have an important congregational meeting following the service, both here in this room and on Zoom. We will not have our usual coffee hour because of that, or our post-service discussions on Zoom. And we do want to get the meeting started as soon as possible, as close to noon as possible. So please take a quick bathroom break. I'm reminded there's a second set of bathrooms below us downstairs in case the line gets long here. Grab a little water. I think there's even some snacks out over there. Feel free, or if you brought your own. And we'll get ready to get started for the meeting as close to noon as possible.
And dear ones, would you join with me just in the spirit of a benediction here? If these words come from the Reverend Joe Cherry, if we have any hope of transforming the world and changing ourselves, we must be bold enough to step into our discomfort, brave enough to be clumsy there, loving enough to forgive ourselves and others. So, dear ones, may we, you and I and the beloved community that we are called to create, may we be so bold, so brave, and so loving. Amen? Amen. Blessed be.
And now Phyllis will extinguish the flame that we kindled at the start of the service, but not the fire of commitment, the light of truth, the warmth of compassion. All these we carry with us in our hearts till we meet again.